Today I'm going to talk about a true classic game from 1974 from SPI, StarForce Alpha Centauri, Interstellar Conflict in the 25th Century. Comes with a nice story. Synopsis of it is that the main technological advance which makes the whole game future possible is a means of shifting. Shifting relies upon a combination of human telesthetic and telekinetic abilities with sophisticated intelligent machines to temporarily join two widely separate points in time in order that a ship may shift instantly from one point to the other. So there's a basic strategic game and then an advanced game that has detailed tactics as well. This is related to Outreach and also Star Soldier. The flat tray version they call it is, the box is the tray. This is a teleship. The primary shift ring. This is the secondary shift ring. This is the bridge. The maneuver center and crew quarters. This is the Gnostic module mapping and recovery tanks. This is the gravity sled. Energy modulation pack connect drive. This is the ship systems control, life support, and recreation garden. It's awesome that it's got all that thought into it. Inside the tray lid, they have, summary. They talk about complexity rating. They give it a 6.5, and for comparison, they have Monopoly's 2.34. So I don't know if it's necessary to have 2 decimal points on that one. Average playing time, 2 hours. Rules. So 24 pages of rules. It's got a lot of good scenarios in there as well. A tracker sheet for movement trackers, or they call them shifts in this game. And players move simultaneously. Very nice pad for tracking those. Then the SPI tray comes with these covers. Pretty good mix of counters. Not a whole lot of different types, but also the unique ones. Nice tray, I really appreciate the trays. On the back of the tray, I would note that they got this, can't flip it over because the stuff will fall out, but there's like a cardboard backing that, it's like 40 years old. So, that can kind of come loose, so I just taped it on, but I like the tray itself. So here's detail on the unique counters. So these are Star Forces and these are Stargates. It just so happens that the Star Forces can only be controlled by women because only women can be powerfully telesthetic, and only 139 people per 19 billion can have that effect. Different races, define races. There's the, humans. There's the La Chalda race, the Rame, or Rame race, I'm not sure I pronounce that. And there's also, xenophobe rules that come in here too, for the different races, Star Force, Stargates. Tactical situation markers, where basically you indicate where there's tactical combat happening, and then you do the tactical display. Hold, star marker, still randomizer chits, where these are the first and the first or second half of the hex coordinate, and these are the Zulu or kind of a Z coordinate. These are neutralization markers, and these are randomizer chits, which they go from 0 to 9, and kind of indicating how old this game is. Apparently 10-sided dice weren't that commonly available then, so I assume since they didn't have those, they use these. So they have basically 4 0 to 9, but I'll be supplementing that with obviously 10-sided dice. And then the map, or it's a stellar display, any tactical display. Just searching around, I see this is in different versions. There's a card stock that folds out like a poster, and I think it's well done. I think there's other color variations of this from what I can tell out there. I personally like this one. It's it gives a nice kind of dark background to kind of maybe the more brighter components that stick out, so I like it. And then there's also a board mounted one that comes in like a bookshelf game, which I'll keep my eye out for that one as well. So there's the stellar display, and this whole map is big. It's 22 by 34 inches, There's 74 star systems in here, and it's in three-dimensional space. It's like a sphere. So the tactical display is when you get in like 1 hex of this. Game scale. So I talk about Zulus, which means that this is three-dimensional. It's, X, Y, and Z. A light is basically a light year. The stellar display is 39 lights across and 43, deep. And the stellar game turn represents 12 hours of real time. And then the tactical, the mini light Zulus are each 1 mini light across and 1 mini light deep, where 1 mini light equals 1/3 of a light day. The tactical display is 1/100th of a light across by 1/100th of a light deep. So it's one section. It's a section of a hex. Each tactical turn represents 30 minutes of real time. And then there's various kind of player aids here. It's a strategic combat results table for the basic game. So when you do the advanced game, when you get in a hex here and have a combat, then you jump to the tactical display. Maximum shift table, overshift results, tech shift teleport cost table, combat cast resolution table, mode change costs, cast attenuation table, combat results summary, and this is to help translate true distance in three-dimensional space. Tactical display, combat cast pattern. Well done. Star system. Any one of the variously colored discs on the star display. Each star system consists of stars and its planets. Star systems are grouped into 3 classes, as distinguished by the size of their symbol. 1 are the 3 home systems of 3 races. 2 is the secondary systems, those having colonizable planets, but no sentient life forms. 3, the tertiary systems, those stars which have planets that require terraforming before colonization. StarForce, fleet of 4 interstellar spaceships represented by a single counter. Shift, the instantaneous movement of StarForce units from point to point in space. StarForce is a basic shift range of 5 lights, which may be extended with the aid of StarForce's Stargates or overshifting, which is risky. Stargate, the space station in orbit around a star, was not itself capable of shifting, but is capable of augmenting the shift capabilities of friendly star forces. Sequence of play for the basic game. Game turn, display and game turns. Game turn outline. Starship plot phase. Each player writes secretly the new light zero position of each of its forces will shift in the shift execution. Save shift execution. Move all star forces that are making shifts within their safe maximum. Overshift. For star forces which are conducting shifts greater than their safe maximum, Zulu coordinate readout segment. At this point, if opposing players do not have opposing units in the same light Zulu, players proceed to the following game turn. If, however, they do have units in the same light Zulu, they then proceed to the combat execution phase. Combat execution, if opposing forces in the same light Zulu, strategic combat sequence initiated. Second and subsequent combat segment. Play continues until a series of combat segments until one player has been removed from the contest. Star neutralization recovered phase. This phase is applicable in the advanced game and modified base game. All units which were neutralized in previous game turn are returned to normal use and strength. So the way the maximum shift and an overshift table works then. So here is the different scenarios. Normal shift, hence light, gate shift, hence gate shift, gate, etc. And these are the safe max. And then if it goes beyond these, then you go over here to the overshift table. For instance, if you're doing a normal shift of 6, you'd go to column A, and then you'd resolve here. You'd roll a dice and then see if you got shift, mirror, or randomized. Basic game combat. Combat occurs between opposing units who, after executing their plotted movement, are in the same light Zulu. There is no set rule for attacker or defender. Rather, each of the opposing sides may be their attacker or defender, or both, in a given combat segment. Procedure. For each player involved in a specific combat action, total the strength points of all his units involved in the light Zulu. He may allocate his strength and his defense. From this pool, each player should simultaneously write down the number of points allocated to attack and number of points allocated to defense. Combat is executed simultaneously. Consult the basic game combat results table. The formerly defending player now proceeds with the attack against the formerly attacking player. After both players have executed their attacks, results are applied. Each combat action continues until only one player's units are left in the light Zulu. After all combat actions are resolved, proceed to the next game turn. So I talked about the basic game, the strategic game, and then there's an advanced game, and I'll just talk that at a high level, but then I'll show an example in play to show more detail. When you normally do combat, and then the opposing forces are in a given light Zulu, instead you take the forces off the board and put them on the tactical display. So you put, if you have a Stargate, you put the Stargate at 000. If there's a star, you put that on the board, and the players write down in secret where they're going to show up on a tactical display in the immunity Zulus, and then they put them on the board. And then attack turn there's the first phase, which is tack shift and mode change segment, then combat cast segment, cast results application segment, plot modification segment, and then the second tack execution phase, tack shift and break off, combat cast segment, cast results application segment, position revelation phase, disruption recovery phase, situation judgment phase, and stalemate judgment. Then there's also several option rules. There's reserve star forces you can bring in another time. There's figure forces where you can break off separate forces from the main StarForce fleet. Gate length, which changes how you use Stargates. Crew fatigue. And then there's sequential play. And this can be to support solitaire play. And then finally, a really neat aspect of this game is all the scenarios. So there's several that kind of build up more complex with different amounts of races and fleets and objectives. It's like 14, and a couple of them are xenophobe scenarios, which are the xenophobes. They like to come in and they make stars supernova and pretty rough, so it's kind of interesting. Then also, nicely, there's a solitaire game, which is a rescue mission, so it's kind of nice that it comes with a solitaire game. So I'm going to be doing this scenario 5, 2451 AD La Chal-Da contact. Ever since first venturing out of the solar system, humans awaited first contact. Finally, in 2451, a small fleet of La Chal-Da from Sigma Draconis has stumbled across the nearest human colony, Eta Cassiopeia, defended only by its own Stargate. They attempt to probe and or capture with access to their own Stargate, Eta 61 Cygni, by breakoff. Orders of battle and deployment. Human player has a Stargate and 2 star forces of Sol. At 1821, Alpha Centauri has 1 Stargate and 1 Star Force. 3015 Tau Ceti, 1 Stargate, 1 Star Force. 2713 Epsilon Eridani, 1 Starfleet, 1 Star Force. 2009 A2 Eridani, just a Stargate. 2523 Epsilon Indy, Stargate, Star Force. 2018 Eta Cassiopeia, just a Stargate. 2427 Delta Pavonis, just a Stargate. And the La Chal-Da player, 2326 Sigma Draconis, Stargate, 2 Star Forces. 2626 61 Cygni, just a Stargate. 3223 HR 8832, Star Force and Stargate. And starting at 3018, 2 Star Forces. Victory conditions. Human player must permanently neutralize all enemy Stargates. Celestial player must permanently neutralize the Soul Stargate or any other 2 human Stargates. Special rules. The game begins with tactical display deployment of 2 alleged Shalday Star Forces and deployment of the defending Eta Cassiopeia Stargate. Play proceeds on tactical display before any stellar display plotting. It's definitely most enjoyable. It's a full advanced game with full optional rules. So this scenario starts out with doing the tactical combat at Eta Cassiopeia, where the alien units have come in, seeing the human Stargate. And so I shifted that to tactical display here. And I'm assuming they're just shifting in this turn, since this is where it starts out. So the units coming in have to come in the 500 series hexes, kind of the perimeter. And since they're shifting in together, they have to be within 1 hex. And I'm having them come in at +5. Mini Light Zulu, they can go from +5 to -5, so they're coming in high there. And so that's where they're at. And I'm going to keep track of the tactical stuff on one of these sim move sheets, separate from the strategic stellar display plotting. The Stargates at 000. The star is right below that at a -1. So that's the setup on the tactical display. So first of all, pretty much all the information you need for the tactical efforts are right here, which is really handy. So where we're at right now, the aliens D&E have come in, and there's a human Stargate. So when they first come in, the total distance, I brought them at +5, so they're at 5 away from the Stargate. And then we need the true distance, which if you look at 5, they're at 7 out. Cast, which is the battle mechanism, can only go 5, so they're outside that right now, so I have to move in a little bit. They're in stellar mode right now. They have a teleview value of 32, which is like, action points. So you do your plotting, and then you do 2 execution phases. So first of all, they're going to change their mode to battle mode, and that requires 32 points. So they've shifted to battle mode, and now since they're in battle mode, they have that total of 64. So they'll use 32 of their points to move. They can move a total of 2 in true points, 2 distance, which if you look at here, that if you move 1 and 2 in Z, for instance, that would be a total of 2, or anything less than that. So D is going to move up 1 hex closer, and then move down 1 Z. So they move down to from +5 to +4, and then E is going to move in 1 also, and then they'll also drop. They both come in, and now the next phase, do the plotting. And as far as where they're at now, so D is at +4 and 4, so 4 and 4. He's still 6 out, and E is also 6 out. They're still out of range, so they'll move in a little bit. And this turn now, so they're going to move, and then they're going to. It's hidden, so 2 players will have each a sheet here, but for purposes here, I also put the Stargate on here since I'm playing this myself. In the 2 phases, the aliens will move in, and then the next one they'll do a cast. Their plan is D will move in a little bit to be on the edge, and then E will move in more. So D will move up to, or actually he'll stay at 431, but he'll drop 1 more in Z, so he'll be at 431 +3, so that'd be 4 and 3. He's right at 5, so he's in distance. E then, they're going to move in a little bit, so they'll move in here, orientation is important, so I'll get their orientations here. And they're going to go down 2. That's, 1 and 2. The total distance would be 2 then, if you look at the chart. They're within 4 because they're at 3, 2. So they're at 4. So they're a little bit closer in. And then the next one will be a cast, and they have 32 remaining, so they'll do a cast. And you can do casts in levels 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. They're going to do a 32. And they can also do an anti-cast too, which is a defensive, but they're not going to do that. They're going to be offensive. So they'll do a cast of 32, and you have to say the direction. So it goes clock 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. So they'll be casting it in 11, so going up this way. Simultaneously, though, the Stargate, they're going to do offensive and defensive, so they're going to, because they expect them coming in there, so they're going to do a 32 cast, and then they're going to do also a 32 anti-cast, because they get 64 each execution phase. And they'll do that in both phases. And their direction will be 5, so they'll be coming down here. Then you can look at these cones to see the effect. So first of all, when they come in, when they settle in there, in the first execution phase, they come in the range of the Stargate. So the Stargate gets to fire, and then in the second execution phase they can fire, and then the Stargate again fires. They don't fire the first one. The Stargate, though, is at 4 and 5. So you look here, he's casting 32. So at the 4, it's a 2. At the 5, it's a 1. And they don't do any anti-cast. If they do, you would subtract that value. Let's do the 5 first. The one that's at 5 distance away, which has a cast strength of 1. So you go to this column, roll dice. 4. No effect. So if you would have got a 7, they would have been disrupted and had their tail viewpoints reduced by half. It's one cast, but it captures both of these in there. So at the distance of 4, which is E, you'll do a cast. 2. Again, no effect, so they were lucky there. Didn't take any damage that time. So now they come in, and they have an each doing cast of 32, and they do the additive effect on the Stargate. So 32 at a distance of 5 is 1. 32 at a distance of 4 is 2. So they have a total 3 on here. But he's got an anti-cast of 32. Whenever there's a negative value, there's no effect. So they do not damage him at all. The Stargate is going to cast again then. So again, they're still at a distance of 4 and 5. And he's casting in that distance there. Direction there. So first of all, on the 1 is 0, no effect. The one that's 4 away, which would be the 2 column, and again they don't have any anti-cast, is a 9. That's not good news for him. +2 means he's randomized, which basically means he's removed the tactical display, and then when we go at the completion of this tactical, he'll do stellar shifting, some randomized stellar shifting, and I'll show that. And then this will continue until it's resolved that only one of the players is there. After that tactical combat, moving back to the stellar display now, the result was that the 2 attacking alien forces were both randomized, and the Stargate was able to defend itself. So we'll put we'll take off the tech situation marker, put the Stargate back where it goes. So in the advanced game, instead of just removing randomized units from the board, you figure out where randomly they go on the board. To do that, first for D, we draw three chits. The first one, if you get either a destroyed or break off, that'll go into effect. So destroyed up here would mean obviously it's destroyed. Break off means it stays in its place, but it's not functioning. So we don't get that. We get 2. We get a 0 and an 8, so we'll indicate that position. Try another 5. Minus 17. That's a Z. And then for E, 26. 11 plus 2. So that's where they'll go, and they'll both be neutralized. So I'll put those on the board. There's deneutralized, E-neutralized. That's where they're at. And I finally want to mention that, so I think the map works out really well. So it represents a sphere, but you're basically looking down on the sphere, and the items that are blue are positive, meaning they're coming up, and the ones that are purple are below the plane, and it shows the levels. So I think that works out pretty well. Then we'll get into some more playing the stellar display. So a few turns into it after the initial tactical battle. We'll show where we're at here. The humans have been, they'll be defending some of their worlds. Sol, of course, defending this, Stargate, this one. A few are left undefended in these locations. And they'll be moving with their forces A and C to get to Sigma Draconis. A and C both did gate shifts, which gives you, that's when you have a StarForce on a Stargate, and they did, so we got 10 from that. They both had to change their altitude because they were at 0 and minus 4, and Sigma Draconis is at plus 7, so I had to change that some. And then obviously had the transversity area. So they've been able to get here after a gate shift and a shift. A is at 26, 27 plus 7. A regular gate shift gets you can go 5, so it's within his range. C is here, so 3 out, and his altitude is plus 5, so he's 2 off, so that's within his range as well. So they'll be attacking that next. The others are defending. The La Sholda, they have a few defending theirs as well. They have A has stayed where it is. B did a gate shift because he had to reduce his altitude from 17 to 7. He's able to do that, and then he did a shift to get over there, so he's on location there to defend that. C is just a little bit of an altitude change, just from 17 to 15, and it was, like within 6 or so. So within his 10, he was able to get there, and now he's just kind of waiting to maybe attack. So he's within striking distance at the right altitude, or Z coordinate. D was quite a bit off the board. He was, over here, because he was randomized. And so he's been shifting to get in, taking 5 at a time. This time he's going to do an overshift and try to, because he's at minus 12, he wants to, because this location is at minus 4, so he wants to get closer to being within range there and try to get down to minus 7 and get a little bit closer in. E has been able to shift, and now they're kind of in location here, and they had to reduce their Z height a little bit, but now they're right in striking range. So then we'll go ahead and move, see what happens. So of course A and C will move here. That's the human. Everything was in their 5 range, so they didn't have to do an overshift. La Sholda, C. I mean, it's risky because they may be overmatched against the Stargate, but they're just going to see if they can maybe spread out the forces, and maybe they'll withdraw. We'll see. And then E, they're in striking range, but they're not going to go yet because there's a StarForce there, not willing to take that on. D, so they're going to do their overshift. They're going to attempt to go to 1720 and then reduce their height to minus 7. For that, we consult the overshift table. So D's going to do an overshift, and their safe max is 5. They're going 9, so that gives them in category D. And now they'll roll the dice, see what happens. 7. Category D, they're randomized, which isn't good. Then we go through the process to figure out, where they will go that I showed previously. If they had gotten a 2 or less, then they would have been safe. If they would have got a 4 or 3, then they would have been reflected off in a mirror position. So I showed tactical combat before. Now I'll show the strategic combat results. So now we have a situation here by Sigma Draconis where we have 2 star forces entering, and then in a defending hex there's a Stargate and a star force. What you do is there's a strength points, and then you have to allocate that to strength and defense and look at the difference. So that when the star forces first come in, the human forces, their star forces have a strength value of 2 each, so that gives them 4. And the first time they come in, the Stargate can't attack them, but the existing force can. And the existing force that's there has a strength of 3. On this round, the humans have decided to go, so they have a total of 4. They decided to go with the attack of 3 and defense of 1. And the La Sheldov went with the attack of 2 and defense of 1. And then they both make a roll, so the humans will go. First of all, the differential then is, it'll be the 3 minus 1 for the humans, which is 2, of course. Consult that +2 table. 2. So the La Sheldov lose 1 force. This will apply after the combat. And then the La Sheldov will go, and they have a attack of 2 minus the defense of 1, so they're in the +1 table. They get a 2, and that's insufficient. The next turn now, what's remaining is that one of the La Sheldov forces has been eliminated, so there's 2 human forces against a Stargate. So on the turn after the initial one, the human forces are at a full of 3 strength each, so give them a total of 6. And they've decided to allocate 4 for attack and 2 for defense. The Stargate has a strength of 5, and they've decided to allocate 3 for attack and 2 for defense. So first, for the human, it'd be 4 minus 2, which would be the +2. 1. So nothing happens for them. The La Sheldov have a 3 minus 2, so on the +1 table, they get a 4. One of the human forces is eliminated. And now on the next turn, so the humans are at 3, they'll go 2, 1, and the La Sheldov are at 5, they'll go 3, 2 again. So the humans, 2 minus 2, so they're in the 0 column. 6. So a 1 on a Stargate is equivalent to 2 star forces, and a partial effect doesn't have any effect, so they're fine. And now they'll go, so they're at 3 minus 1, so they're at the +2 table. 7, 2. So they've eliminated the human star forces. That's the conclusion of that battle. So that's StarForce Alpha Centauri from SPI in 1974. It's pretty streamlined. You have to think about how you're going to approach the situations. And it's got all these different scenarios that really give you a sense of the science fiction universe it's created. I mean, it's a tactical game, but when it ties into the scenarios, it's very, very enjoyable. And it doesn't have any extra fluff to it at all. I think it looks really good. It's very enjoyable. And then also it ties in with Outreach and Star Soldier. Outreach is basically a fleet of Star Force in the future that look to explore and expand across the galaxy. I've reviewed that. If you want to check that out. Star Soldier, which I understand in that game it links with Star Force, and you can actually go to more detail in the tactical and actually have, kind of man-to-man warfare. But highly, highly recommended. And as of this date, I think you can still, get them on eBay at a reasonable price, which is another plus. Thanks for your time.